I'm just your modern American Joe that works a 9 to 5, and I occasionally do YouTube videos on the side. So this is a raw reaction of why nobody wants to live in Britain anymore. So let's go. Let's get it. This is by Moon, who's a tremendously great YouTuber. Check him out.
It's not hard to see the modern UK as a country in decline.
Let's see
Societal sicknesses like alcoholism have gotten worse, with the amount of people in treatment more than doubling over the past 2 decades. Public services like healthcare and transportation have fallen apart, along with people's trust in them. Towns and villages which existed for centuries are now being abandoned, with most of their residents leaving in the hope of building a better life elsewhere. In fact, the whole country is seeing an exodus of its most economically valuable citizens. Both the rich and the young are leaving the country in ever-increasing numbers, seeing greater opportunities abroad than at home. So let's explore the decay of modern Britain and find out how things got so bad for what was such a prosperous and hopeful nation. Tackling a country's biggest problems
it's weird
is
to
in
think
itself
because like when you're a kid and you're growing up in America, you think of Britain as like the neighboring ally of America, right? You think of Britain as like modern Britain, like World War II and all these wars and stuff like that. They were our allies. We came together and we were the heroes of the world, right? It's kind of sad to see like America and Britain and a lot of these countries going through tough times, man.
A massive question.
Really,
the UK
really
having
sucks.
so many problems of such huge proportions, it's hard to know where to start. Now we could go through some nationwide statistics. For example, take the fact that over 2.5 million people had to wait over 3 weeks just for a doctor's appointment in February 2024.
Oh my goodness.
While it is true and it does tell you how overstretched the UK's public services have become, that's all it really does. To really visualize the level of degradation and get an idea of how the UK is changing, you have to zoom much further in. Just living in the UK forces its people to confront this decay because they can literally see it all around them. Independent businesses have closed down, replaced by vape stores, takeaways, phone repair
This is not unique to the UK. I just want to let y'all know we're feeling this too.
shops and money laundering
I swear, everywhere you look, there's a fucking vape store now.
fronts. Meanwhile, once proud buildings and beautiful examples of British architecture and heritage have been left to rot.
That's honestly, I would hate to see a fucking badass castle in Britain, bro. And then you see a
Before we
vape store
continue,
next
I
door.
want to tell you about our video
That shit
sponsor,
would
War
piss me
Thunder.
off.
War Thunder is the ultimate vehicle
What is
combat
War
game.
Thunder?
The best part, it's completely free to play right now on
Oh,
PC,
you don't
consoles,
say.
and mobile devices.
Oh,
Just use the links in my pinned comment or
it's
the
on
video
phones.
description
You don't
to
have
jump
a
into the
phone?
action. With over 2,500 tanks,
What, you don't
planes,
have phones,
helicopters, and
bro?
ships spanning 10 major nations, War Thunder offers
like
vehicles from the
Battleship, bro.
1920s to the modern day. Whether you prefer piloting a fighter jet,
400
commanding a
years.
battleship, or driving a main battle tank, this game has it all. Each vehicle is intricately modeled, down to the engines, fuel tanks, and weapons for
That's
a realistic
nice.
and immersive experience.
Wonder which tank
War
is the
Thunder's
best in the
damage X-ray
game.
view shows exactly how your enemies or your own vehicle are destroyed. Watch as shells
Wonder
pierce
what
armor,
country's got
ignite
the
fuel
best
tanks,
tank?
and disable key components in stunning detail.
Think it's America?
Plus, the game runs smoothly on
Russia?
virtually any system, thanks to its
Iran?
Dagger engine, which delivers
Maybe the
top-tier
UK?
visuals even on low-end hardware. And now War Thunder has a mobile version.
I wonder
Available on
who.
iOS and Android, you can take the battlefield wherever you go. So make sure to
Ooh.
click the links in the pinned comment or video description to sign up now on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, or mobile devices. But here's the real deal. If you're new or you haven't played in the last 6 months, signing up through my links for PC or consoles gets you a massive bonus pack.
Oh,
the
I bet.
exclusive vehicle decorator Eagle of Valor, 100,000 silver lions, and 7 days of a premium account. This bonus is only available for a limited time.
I'm getting
so
over
don't
being
wait.
sick right
Join
now.
the worldwide community
So
of over 70
if I
million
sound a little
players who
weird,
dominate the
that's why.
battlefield in War Thunder
I
today.
usually skip through the commercials.
You can do this for nearly any random neighborhood outside of London, and you'll see similar
not this time.
things. Take the neighborhood of Portswood in Southampton, for example. Not too long ago, it was a thriving neighborhood full of independent bakeries,
That's nice.
grocers, butchers, and other businesses.
That's where
there was
Peter's
even
from.
an independent cinema housed in the beautiful castle-like Broadway building. Portswood should have been fairly insulated from the degradation that's hit the rest of the country. It had nearly everything going for it. Southampton is in the
Everybody likes
comparatively
bread these
richest
days,
south
you know?
of the country, not far from London. The
Okay.
nearby university and the docks should have kept enough money flowing through to keep communities like Portswood afloat. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, those days are all but over, and Portswood saw one of its last independent businesses close down this summer, making it yet another rundown clone town. At least the Broadway building is
Wait, you're telling me that Britain has no independent, like brick and mortar mom and pop shops? Like none? None. Like I understand like having less than usual because that's happening in America a lot. In Texas predominantly. That's where I'm from, so that's what I know. I can't really talk for the rest of the world. But yeah, Texas, you see it a lot less. And a lot happened. You know, a lot of those went under in, you know, COVID in 2020 and the pandemic, right? Because we had to, like, a lot of them had to stop for a while if they weren't, you know, necessary or essential.
Still in use as a church, although it's also become an epicenter for Portswood's growing population of homeless alcoholics. Most of the real shops and businesses in Portswood have been forced to close, sucking the life out of the community. In their place are scores of takeaways meant for the international student market, chain coffee shops, discount stores, phone and vape shops, and American candy stores. Some of the only real shops left are charity.
I really don't know how candy. It's the UK. Never mind. In America, it's big too, you know. But I don't understand, like, candy, like, you know, Halloween, I get sick of it, you know. Like, maybe 4 times a year, I'm like, dude, I need some candy. Like, if that. Dude, I don't know.
Shops, which have only survived because they don't need to pay for their merchandise. It's like the community is slowly being sucked out, as pretty much none of the shops and businesses left are meant to cater to local residents. While there's still some money floating around, the life and the character of the place has completely vanished. But most importantly, the opportunity for local people to build a life in the community has been cut off. Jobs at most of these businesses don't have any real upward potential. Even if you become the manager of the store, you'll only be making a few pounds more per hour than minimum wage.
Yeah, this is actually shocking to, not shocking for me to hear, but it was shocking when I found this out. I have someone that I'm very close with, and they've been working at I'm not going to say which company or anything like that, but it is a restaurant, a very successful restaurant in America that's franchised, and they've worked there for a very long time and worked up pretty high in the company. And I found out how much they were actually making, which shocked me, or like around, you know, how much they made. And it pissed me the fuck off, because it was around like 30-ish or something like that. And that's what I started with my first like full-time gig was about 30 a year. It really pissed me off because I imagined they were making at least like 70 or 80. Because it worked there so long, and then if you have like a management job, I don't know, it's just
barely enough to survive on, let alone build a life with.
Yeah,
even these kinds of jobs are in short supply, as it often takes.
I feel like to be single and to live alone, you need at least like $65,000 a year, maybe 50. But honestly, the rent nowadays is fucking notorious. It's disgusting. It's gotten so much worse. I would say 65 is the minimum to live on your own. And that's not even being comfortable, right? That's just getting by. And then also on top of that, if you have like a dog or you have a girlfriend, a wife, kids, anything like that, man, a husband, whatever it might be, you know, a nephew you've got to take care of or something like that, man, ain't no way. It's like you're getting up to more like 85K a year. Easily.
It takes people months or years to find any work. Compare it to inheriting a family operation or starting your own independent business, and it's night and day. There just isn't room in local UK economies for that anymore.
No.
Even in the richest parts of the country, leaving town centres completely abandoned and looking the same as every single one across the country. And because there's no longer any incentivization to build a business in these towns, nobody has any reason to actually go into these town centres anymore. Instead of changing this,
I see this a lot. I'm sorry I'm pausing this. The same point, I've seen this a lot in the malls. And I barely go to the mall, right? I occasionally go to the mall if I'm getting like a present, like for Christmas or for someone's birthday or something like that, or it's like an essential, like not essential, but like a niche item where I had to go to a specific store to get it. Like for instance, there's a lot of y'all that watch the content on here are gamers. There's like a retro store in my mall that I like supporting. Like when I like downsized and like sold all my stuff off, I could have went on eBay and like trying to mark it up and get like as much profit as possible off of it. But instead I went to like this store that I really fuck with the guy that works there. He's cool. And I sold all my stuff there. So I'll go to the little store, the little retro gaming store. That's about it really. But you know, I'm walking through the malls and everything, and I've been going there since I was a kid, and I've seen so many stores come and go, and nowadays there's always like 4 or 5 or 6 stores that are all boarded up, and they haven't been rented out by a new company yet, and usually it takes months and months and months for someone to get a spot there. And there's also been like there was a, not Hot Topic, what's it called? It wasn't Aeropostale, it was Hollister. We had a Hollister back in the day, and Hollister was like the shit, bro. It smelled so good, you know. I remember my friends used to steal cologne there. They used to pocket them, and then we would go back, and then they put the like trackers on them or whatever, the beepers. But like everything smelled so good in Hollister. Like the bag smelled good, the clothes smelled good, everything. I bet even the trash smelled good at Hollister. But they went out of business. I don't know why they did. It's probably because there's too many thieves in the place I live. Almost fucked up and slipped up and told y'all. But you know I'm in Texas. That's all that matters. But yeah, that store is never been filled in. Like it's I don't know what it is. It's like this store is haunted by Hollister.
Dating with the times. To still have a community feeling in the town centers, they've just been completely abandoned. And unfortunately, this bleak reality is actually the best case scenario for most British towns and cities. If you travel north rather than south from London, things start to get even worse. The majority of British towns relied on industry rather than education or to fund their economies. And when all the factories and mines closed down in the 70s and 80s, whole cities had their lifelines cut. Like a car that's running out of fuel, these towns didn't crash, they just slowly rolled to a stop. The reasons behind this are all well documented. The people going through it at the time knew what was happening. Simply put, developed economies shifted from industry and manufacturing towards finance, education, and technology. Globalization kicked in, and traditional old manufacturing industries got completely wiped out, with other cheaper foreign countries offering lower costs to multinational companies that own the factories. For many though,
this is what America needs to be aware of this shit, bro. Like this shit could happen to us.
This is really old news, and almost everyone knows this by now.
Yeah, exactly.
As almost every single developed economy has dealt with the same issues.
Yeah, exactly.
But not all of them have seen their communities collapse and left their towns and cities.
No, this is like the worst situation possible, right?
The reason that it's been particularly bad in the UK is the lack of private or government investment to try and save these towns and cities. According to the Institute for Public Policy Research, the UK has been sitting at the bottom of the G7 for years in terms of private investment. Wow. It doesn't get much better when you compare it to much smaller developed economies either. The UK is a lowly 28th out of the 31 highly developed OECD economies. Ever since 2008, the UK has been falling behind in this key area, and it's been awful for UK society. But this isn't the only problem. The UK's welfare state has also been more of a hindrance to economic productivity than a boost. Instead of helping to repair people's lives and get them ready for work, it offers an alternative to being economically productive. Now, especially in areas left behind by Britain's new London-centric economy, long-term unemployment is at an all-time high. The number of people who are economically inactive because of long-term sickness has reached yet another record high. Many of these people are claiming benefits from the government to stay afloat, and it's inevitable that some of these people are gaming the system. When the government is paying nearly 23 million people some form of welfare, there's going to be some bad apples. Yeah. Lots of people who are perfectly capable of working still just take free money while giving nothing back to the economy in return. Then there are the people who are secretly working but take benefit payments anyway. And because there's no emphasis on really checking this stuff, the amount of money wasted on this is substantial. Overpayments are cases where the government has identified it paid someone too much compared to what their circumstances entitled them to. In 2023, the figure was nearly £10 billion, the majority of which was due to benefit fraud rather than government errors. Which of course is a huge problem, but even that amount of money only made up under 4% of the total amount of welfare.
I saw this a lot, and this didn't really like, I never saw this in the real world until COVID happened, and there was like people at our company, one person, and I'm gonna keep this very vague because I think they already got in trouble, so I could talk about it. And this is rumors from, you know, hearing it from some person that heard it from some person from some person. You know how it goes in a job. But there was a person that was working there, and a lot of people didn't like the person, but apparently that person was like working as disabled or something like that, some kind of disability, and she was like saying she was unemployed, and getting unemployed checks while she was working at the company we were working at. So she was double dipping. She was getting the real money and unemployment checks, and then the IRS or whoever the fuck it was popped in one day and was like, "Hey, is so-and-so work here still?" And they're like, "Yeah. Do you need that person?" And Yeah, so that person got busted. That was during 2020 COVID.
Payments.
That was
Catching
wild.
these people is a game of cat and mouse that's been going on ever since the system was created.
Yeah.
The real problem lies with the actual effectiveness of government welfare. As it exists now, the system acts more like an alternative to work rather than as a way to rehabilitate people and get them work.
I really think okay, this is a very broad topic, but I think that we are getting to a point where there's going to be so many jobs that are replaced by AI, replaced by machine learning, replaced by automation, whether that be coding or technology or someone in a factory or transportation like DoorDash, all these like transportation companies like Amazon and UPS and all this kind of stuff. Eventually, I think that's all going to be wiped out by automation. I think, Teslas and self-driving cars and, Tesla robots and stuff like that, eventually we'll get to a point where, delivery systems aren't, by a delivery guy, your neighborhood, UPS guy or whatever it is. It's going to be by robots and self-driving cars and trains and I don't want it to happen, but self-driving 18-wheelers. That's even scary to even say out loud. But we're going to get to a point where, there's just so many jobs, so many markets, so many industries that have been taken out by automation that you're going to need some kind of universal, not healthcare, but universal pay system, universal income. And I think that will kind of, you just take out the people that are already getting money from the government from being unemployed, and you apply that there. And that is tricky though, because I don't know all the ins and outs of unemployment checks and stuff like that. And there's people that probably can't ever get a job, right? And those people, I just don't know how to balance that. It's like, I would say, you make a certain amount of money, and you don't get that, or do you do it where it's like everyone gets a certain amount of money, and if you make more money, you just compound the two. I don't fucking know. I don't know. What do y'all think? Comment down below. But I do think it's going to get to a point, and I think in our lifetime, like in the next 20, 25 years, I think there will be a universal income, not for just people that are unemployed, but for the United States as a whole. Because I think technology if you imagine what's happened in the last 12 years, imagine what's going to happen in the next 12. It's ridiculous. It's going to be way more. It's going to be extremely, way more fast. So yeah.
Again, it's awful for the country.
It's definitely
right now, the system is like a very expensive plaster for a very deep wound. The key to the problem is a lack of opportunity. Benefits can pay for most of your rent and give you a very small amount of money to try and survive on, but it's rarely enough to let people improve their situations. Surrounded by crime, poverty, and a decaying town center, without any real job prospects, people fall into the benefits trap. The debts pile up and they then get stuck in their situation. When the factories, mines, and other industrial plants nearly all closed down, it took away the...
I don't think it should be legal for you to, have debt. You should be able to get debt if you're being funded by the government, right? If you're pulling out government checks because you don't have a job, you shouldn't be able to have a credit card. That just seems so lopsided. Imagine piling up debt when you don't even have a job. That shouldn't be possible.
Biggest source of income
That's
for towns
ridiculous.
like Yeovil. All the money flowing into the town dried up and it suffered because of it. It's a story you'll see over and over again all across the country. But what's really put the nails in the coffin in the past 2 decades is the shift to online shopping and commerce.
Oh yeah.
Even without the big factories, lots of towns could still get by for a little while. But online shopping took one of the last revenue streams away from local businesses. And without any incentivization to adapt, towns...
Yeah, who was it? Someone just went out of business. It was kind of on brand with Blockbuster. I forgot who it was. Comment down below. There's a big company that just went out of business. I forgot. But dude, remember Redbox? Amazon put their asses in the fucking cleaners, bro. There's so many companies that got killed. And my mom was talking about the drone situation in New Jersey and saying that pretty much she thinks it's going to be like Amazon she thinks it's Amazon drones or UPS drones or something like that. Pretty much practicing new routes for like mass drone transportation, and they're just flying all these things.
Centers just completely barren. The UK
could
economy
destroy,
hasn't really
like,
updated to the modern
Amazon.
times, especially in town centers.
Well, not just Amazon, but it could destroy our government mailmen and shit like that.
Leaving it just barren and empty.
But they already pull out
like
private contracts.
And then the lockdowns hit, and this was the final nail in the coffin for lots of shops as well. Meaning all the revenue started to dry up, but the rent still needed paying. And now the only shops left, as we saw in Portswood and we'll see again in Yeovil, are there to indulge people's addictions. Yeah. Vape stores, American candy stores, betting shops have been some of the only survivors. And most of the time these are only there just for money laundering. All of this happened because of factors outside of the control of local governments and small business owners. In fact, some councils in the UK are now even going bankrupt.
Yeah, if I get rich, I'm gonna go open up a weed shop, bro. 100%. I already know some people from my high school that would love to work with one of those. So yeah, if I ever get rich, I'm gonna open up one of those in Colorado. And yeah, I'm not doing the vape shop thing. Fuck that.
Companies like Amazon rarely if ever pay taxes, and even when they do, only tiny fractions are going to local councils. And because of this outdated UK system, it's far harder for local governments to tax online shopping compared to taking a cut from local businesses. They just don't have any power over them. Plus, all of this happened over the course of 20 years of further spending cuts and austerity from the central government. And this was a recipe for disaster. Which is why then it's no wonder so many local governments in the UK are going bankrupt. In towns like Yeovil, it's the communities that have suffered and made it unable to offer people an opportunity for a good, healthy life, leading to this very pessimistic, miserable atmosphere in the UK right now. Almost everyone notices when they go to the UK, especially compared to the US, Canada, and other Western countries, that misery hangs heavy in the air. There's not really any sense of optimism outside of London. Now, lots of towns have made attempts to reverse this whole thing playing out. In 2017, Yeovil committed to revitalizing their high streets with a big investment in infrastructure and a redesign of their high streets. At first, it looked like things might be going well. Residents saw the construction as a necessary evil because something was finally being done, even though it disrupted business on the high street even more. But as the years dragged on and the construction slowed down, people started to get worried it might never end. And when the lockdown hit,
yeah, having optimism for construction is like one of the worst things to do. like what?
And everybody was forced inside.
Everyone hates
all
construction.
Shops forced to close down, and government debt racking up. Things only got so much worse. Plans were delayed, and all the businesses that were still open got hit even harder. Which is why the UK is one of the only countries that never really recovered like other Western countries from COVID. And just as this was clearing up, the contractor behind the construction work suddenly fell into administration and got liquidated. The whole plan got delayed yet again while Yeovil's council looked for someone else to take it over. Years and years after the plans were set in motion, they still haven't finished. There's still half-finished construction work all over Yeovil's high streets. Drunkenness, violence, and disorderly behavior have also hit a new high, with Yeovil's police department saying they're aware of the increase in homelessness and crime. And while it might seem like a story of rampant incompetence and extreme poverty, this kind of situation has unfortunately become all too common in the UK. Conditions like this break people.
You know what's weird? Like, I've watched many TV shows and movies based in the UK. There's never really been one that was really happy. Really, I think the happiest British film I've seen is Harry Potter. Comment down below a happy British movie I need to watch, bro. There's probably a lot of comedies that I've just never seen.
Down, and they almost guarantee that people
the first Harry Potter, the second one,
chance at building a good life. We've already talked about how awful things like the job market are for young people. Millions of ghost job listings that never get filled, AI application rejection systems, and a general apathy on the part of companies made sure of that. So even coming from a middle-class background is tough.
Systems?
Even if you've had a good childhood and a decent education, that's no longer a guarantee for success. Most people in the UK don't have that anymore anyway. The poverty we've seen take hold of the UK has created problems like rampant crime, substance abuse issues, and internalized trauma. Things that can take people years to come to terms with if they ever do at all. It takes on an almost superhuman level of discipline and hard work to climb out of this world if you're born into it. All it takes is watching Bored and Bankrupt's video of Soho Road in Birmingham to see the deepest depths of this poverty. The worse people's conditions are, the less they care about where they live.
But sometimes at night it's dangerous.
Dangerous in what way?
Like with there's drunk people and stuff.
Look, everything's abandoned, but imagine living in this house, say.
This reminds me of Abilene. I've walked around on the streets of Abilene a lot at night. I'm not gonna say I was drunk, but we were having fun. There's a lot of abandoned buildings out there.
A normal house, maybe with just regular
small towns in Texas. There's so many abandoned buildings.
Or surrounding them.
Oh wow,
houses.
Dude, is this the fucking scene of the Peaky Blinders? Like, dude, this looks like where what's his face lived, where his sister got it on with that one guy, his best friend from the war. Shit, man, I can't remember his name. I need to watch that movie.
For crime,
that
from
series
littering
again.
and substance abuse, all the way up
Was
to
it
the
Henry?
worst of
No,
offences.
it wasn't Henry.
Government efforts to clean up these places and make them halfway livable fall short. It's an uphill battle. The negative culture proves hard to get rid of once it's taken hold. It also brings us to the elephant in the room of immigration. Everything we've talked about so far could have happened and most likely would have happened even without immigration.
Yeah,
people are just people wherever you go and they're products of the world around them. But even without factoring in any kind of predator.
Yeah, a lot of the people in the UK don't like the immigration that's going on right now. There's been a lot of unrest, to say the least.
Yes, the massive levels of immigration into the UK have been a big factor.
I'm surprised
in this decline.
he just got to that.
We have institutions in place to deal with these problems, but they've been completely overstretched by the sheer volume of people in need of help. Even with the left-wing culture of silence over this issue, it's gotten too obvious to ignore for at least some liberal-minded people. The following figures come from a piece in The Guardian, the most...
Yeah, it's kind of a shame, because I can see the point of a lot of people not liking it because they aren't being taken care of, and then they're coming into their country, right, and they're claiming asylum, which I can get, right. I understand the mindset that they have. Does it mean I agree with it? No. But I don't live there, so it doesn't even fucking matter, right? That's not my politics, or I don't fucking have a say or anything like that. Who gives a shit? I'm not British. So, but yeah, I can see where they're coming from, bro. I really can, and I can see the opposite side too, where you're trying to run away from a fucking war, a lifestyle, and trying to find something that's better. The problem is when you have immigrants that come in and they fucking start killing and murdering people, and then they make everyone else fucking question the rest of them, right? That's the fucking issue, and that's why with immigration you should have a process where they legally come through the border and you legally file who's allowed in, and oh, you killed a couple people in your home country, we're not gonna let you in, sir. I mean, it just seems a little logical, but
left-wing paper in the UK, and it's a relic of something they just don't acknowledge, but it's bad when they've finally broken their culture of silence around the issue. Over the past 2 years, an estimated 2.4 more million people have arrived in the UK than have left the country.
Ooh, this
is all new as well. Even in the 70s, when anti-immigration sentiment was at this highest watermark, net immigration into the country was actually lower than the amount of people leaving. Lots of politicians and executives secretly love immigration.
There's a lot more people on the rock now, right?
The productivity problems and the sickness problems that we've talked about. And there are a lot of essential industries that couldn't get by without migrant workers, from healthcare to construction. But in lots of ways, these benefits are far outweighed by the consequences. The UK was already falling apart before all of this started around 15 years ago. Now public services are completely swamped. Rent prices, doctor waiting times, nearly all of the things people complain about the most would get a whole lot better without 2.5 million extra people filling up this space. All of these claims originally come from a paper by Steve Forthergill, a professor of economics. Within days of publishing this work on immigration, he was fired from his 30-year position at the university. This is just the beginning, but it will go on for years and years before this is actually confronted properly. And the end result, as we've mentioned before, is a lack of opportunity for everyone in the UK. And with the UK economy entering into a second month of decline in a row, nearly everyone who can manage it is leaving for greener pastures.
Wow.
One more month of shrinkage and it's officially going to be another recession. One of the most significant groups on the way out.
I'm sorry, but there's so many countries that people are saying almost a recession. I just feel like we're already there, bro. I really do.
People have the time and the ambition to build a good life for themselves. Today, over 30% of 18 to 24-year-olds are seriously considering leaving the country. It isn't a light decision. Most people are so disillusioned and cynical about the UK's prospects that they're willing to leave their families behind. It's terrifying for the people who either can't leave or don't want to. If they're young as well, it leaves them having to support a country where a massive proportion of people aren't working. The UK's aging population means that it's only going to get harder for young people going forward. Pensioners will control even more of the vote, leading to more policies in their favour, and all to the detriment of young people as well. Meanwhile, older people who have the means to actually leave are also on their way out. The new government's heavy tax increases are scaring away the rich.
You know who's in there though? Yes, and you know who's in there though. Ellen DeGeneres. She went to the UK, right? She went to London.
Texas, the economy's most valuable
some old rich person.
The UK is expected to lose the greatest proportion of millionaires in the world in the near future.
People saying she ran away from Diddy.
Times. Now, whatever your opinion about the rich, these are the people whose businesses create the jobs that have become so scarce. Without their tax income and their impact on the economy, things will only get worse. It's telling that so many people can't see a brighter future in the UK. You don't need statistics or charts to know all of this. The evidence is in front of the British people's faces every single day. It's clear that this country is in decline, which is a real tragedy. But the only question left unanswered now is how bad is it really gonna get, and when is it gonna start improving? Thanks again to War Thunder for
hopefully it doesn't get any worse. It probably will, to be frank. And honestly, at the end of the day, I'm not British, right? I'm not living day-to-day life in Britain, in the UK. So if you are, comment down below. Let me give me a little reality check, man. I would love it. I really would appreciate it. I know I have quite a few viewers from that area. Moon did a great job pushing this video. The UK thing is interesting because I watch a lot of videos on, you know, like their politics and the certain things that have popped off and got my attention, like riots and incidents with immigration and stuff like that, right? It is very interesting for an outsider like me to look in at, and I don't know. But yeah, so let's read the comment sections real quick. Crazy to think this country was a superpower 100 years ago. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Like when I was talking about like America and the UK being heroes in like World War III, like that was my, like in my brain, I'm like thinking like this was one of the most powerful countries ever. Like we originated from the UK, right? We originated from Britain, which almost conquered the entire fucking world. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. It's not only Britain, France, Sweden, Germany, and half of the rest of Europe are going down the same route, which is a shame. The UK seems to have an endless budget to join wars everywhere, though. That is true. I'm 22 and I want to leave, but I am broke. This country forces minimum wage workers to live paycheck to paycheck. You'll never save enough to buy a house either. It really does seem hopeless. I'd say to that, try to live with your parents, bro. Try to live with parents and save up money and then buy the house. I really don't know why. And you might be, if you're living with your parents and you still can't save up for a house, I'm sorry. That situation's fucked. But in this country, bro, I don't know what it is, but if you live with your parents after the age of like 20, people start looking at you a little crazy. Like even like 19 and 20, if you're a guy, you're not supposed to live with your parents at all. It's just frowned upon. You're like a bum. But yeah, I would say the best route is live with your parents. Don't pay rent there. Put that money aside. Put like $1,000 aside a month or $500 or whatever it is you can manage to live in a house one day. That's the best way. Save up like 60, 80K and then go get a house, bro. Straight up. Don't try to like get the house as early as possible. Get that big down payment so you can get that interest rate down, all that shit down. Yeah, that's I'm not some fucking financial advisor or anything like that. So this is not financial advice. I'm just saying, like, man, living with your parents isn't so bad if you can buy a house at the end of it, right? What else we got here? When I was a kid, I thought that countries and nations cease to exist when someone else takes them over by force. In modern history, it is mostly because of the absolute oh my god, I'm fucking retarded right now. I can't even fucking speak. My nose is full of fucking snot of their leaders. I had 102 fever for the last 3 days. I'm sorry. I'm trying to push out content right now. And also this is very interesting. I'm not just here trying to like, you know, fucking oil the machine, but I'm trying to do my best, right? If I sound really sick, I'm sorry. I'm doing my best. But this video is really good. Deserves a like. Dude, go give Moon a sub. This came out 12 days ago. Man, I'm a little late to it. But yeah, that is what it is. My name is Trey Swish if you're new here. I'd say consider subscribing. Hit that sub button to join the ether. Shout out to the ether. I love y'all so much. Hit that like button on the video. It's easy as a little click. And dude, comment down below what's y'all's take on this. If you live in the UK, enlighten me on what's going on out there, man. If anything in this video it didn't portray, or it got wrong, or it's misleading, or maybe it nailed it right on the head, let me know, man. And are there any specific things that like America should learn from the situation that's going on in the UK right now, especially if it's in this video, or that's not in this video, and what that might be, bro. But yeah, keep the conversation flowing, man. Help blow this video up, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one, man. Deuces.